The sophomore slump, a phrase that stares in the face of any second-year pro coming off a great rookie season. Some let it happen, but never recover. And then there's the group of athletes that it never happens to at all. Taking the league by storm in your rookie year is not so common, but some individuals are special enough to do it. Bring in CJ Stroud, a guy who not only took the league by storm, but also beat the allegations when it comes to Ohio State quarterbacks not panning out in the NFL. And thank God for that, because I hated those lazy narratives. The post-Deshaun Watson and pre-CJ Stroud era in Houston was very ugly. There was little hope and little draft capital, mainly due to the mess left behind by Bill O'Brien, and there was Deshaun Watson's off-field activities. Davis Mills, Tyrod Taylor, and washed-up Patriots players trying to relive the glory days was all they had to look forward to. In 3 seasons from 2020 through 2022, the Texans went 11-38-1. They hadn't had a season of over 4 wins since 2019, and oh yeah, this happened.
Prevent defense on 4th and 20. Mills buying some time, fires towards the end zone, and it is caught!
Oh my word.
Improbable!
A meaningless touchdown in the final game of the season for this 2-win team just cost the Texans the 1st overall pick. It felt like nothing could go right for this franchise. From the Bob McNair comment, the 24-0 blown lead in the divisional round, and a young superstar quarterback basically pissing his career away, and now this. But fear not, the Texans still held the 2nd overall pick in a quarterback class that was pretty stacked near the top, with 3 of them going in the top 4 picks. The Texans, of course, got Stroud. The pick was criticized because of the Ohio State narrative, and his Wonderlic score was not the greatest, and during the preseason of Stroud's rookie year, it was not looking any better. He really did struggle at times. The regular season for Houston started off a bit slow as a team, but by week 9, it was realized that they might actually be really good. Stroud had this insane 14-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio, and Houston was able to ride that momentum into the playoffs. Although their season ended in pretty embarrassing fashion, they far exceeded expectations, making it to the divisional round with a first-year quarterback and a first-year head coach. But now it's year 2. The hype is at an all-time high, the team is lovable, and overall it feels like the public wants to see them succeed. It really reminds me of the 2019 Browns in a way, sorry Texans fans, but it's not exactly the same thing. The Cleveland Browns had a flawed team that year. They had all the bells and whistles that may have infatuated the fantasy football community, but once again they were still flawed. A team that would often call vertical passing routes with a bad offensive line, and a head coach that didn't really know what he was doing. This Texans team, though, is built really well. Nick Caserio, who at one point was handed a pretty much impossible task to rebuild a team with minimal assets, had this organization turned around by his 3rd year. Just one draft class can turn an organization around. Having 2 of the first 3 picks in the entire draft definitely helps, but finding Tank Dell in round 3 was huge. It's not just the talent, but the continuity mainly stayed intact. Stroud, DeMeco Ryans, and Bobby Slowick, the offensive coordinator, remained in place, which was the most ideal scenario. But then in the offseason, they go out and trade for 2 players who have been around for a long time, but have been 2 of the more consistent and durable players at their respective positions over the past half-decade. On March 12th, the Bengals traded 4-time 1,000-yard rusher Joe Mixon for a 7th-round pick. Aside from 2020, Mixon has played in at least 14 games in every season of his career and has 62 career touchdowns. He's a true 3-down back who may not be the most efficient player, but can do everything at a pretty high level. Their biggest offseason move, though, happened on April 3rd, when the Buffalo Bills traded wide receiver Stephon Diggs to Houston for a 2nd-round pick. Since 2020, Diggs has the most receptions in the NFL, has made 4 consecutive Pro Bowls, and has 6 consecutive seasons over 1,000 receiving yards. And in my opinion, it's reached a point where people are underestimating Stephon Diggs. A motivated player with that talent, with a quarterback like Stroud, playing in an indoor stadium, he can do some really special things this year. This now gives Houston arguably the most dangerous offense in football on paper. And I didn't even mention Nico Collins, who broke out in year 3 with over 1,300 receiving yards last year. CJ Stroud recently called his weaponry a 5-headed monster, which I'm assuming also includes tight end Dalton Schultz, who definitely had his bright moments last year. The members of this team seem to realize how special of a group this can be, but they know it won't be easy. As Stroud said, they now have a target on their back. On defense, they have the main ingredients: a lockdown corner and 2 tremendous pass rushers. Their most lucrative offseason signing was the Vikings defensive end Danielle Hunter, who spent 8 seasons in Minnesota. Last season, Hunter had 16.5 sacks and 27 combined in the past 2 years. He will be 30 next year and did have neck surgery not too long ago, but he did bounce back better than anybody could have ever expected. Across from Hunter, we have last year's Defensive Rookie of the Year, Will Anderson. Anderson in his rookie year had 7 sacks, 32 pressures, and 29 solo tackles. 2022's first-round pick Derek Stingley has been getting raved about since his true freshman season at LSU in 2019. Last season, he went from a young cornerback with upside to one of the best corners that the game has to offer. And I'm sure DeMeco Ryans' defense is somewhat responsible for that, but the Stingley pick is a home run nonetheless. While their interior defensive line and linebacking units do not have any top 100 players, it's still a DeMeco Ryans defense. His defenses have been fantastic versus the run, so it's really not that much of a concern. They did lose Malik Collins and Sheldon Rankins in the offseason, and news came out today as I'm recording this that Denico Autry got suspended for 6 games. But still, I'm sure they'll find somebody to plug that hole in free agency, and they should be fine. And when you look at the landscape of the AFC South, there's still a lot of unknown. You can make an argument for pretty much any one of these 4 teams to have a breakout season, which makes the division as a whole very intriguing. The Texans will be the favorites. This is no longer the organization of Bill O'Brien and Jack Easterby. These guys are for real, and the league knows it. So to answer the question, I think yes, this team is going to live up to the hype. I think they go over that 9.5 win total that they've been given by Vegas, and I didn't even mention their offensive line is back and healthy this year. For a lot of teams that break out like this, everything just has to break right. But for the Texans, that was far from the truth. You lost Tank Dell for the year halfway through the season. Your starting center Scott Quisenberry tore his ACL before the year even started. Their former first-round guard Kenyon Green suffered a season-ending injury as well. They lost Titus Howard for the season in late November, their starting right tackle. And even Laramie Tunsil, the left tackle, missed games early in the season. So all that went against them, but CJ Stroud was still able to find a way to put up a really impressive offensive season. So now with more experience under his belt and hopefully a healthier team around him, I think this team at least makes it back to the divisional round with a real chance to go further this time. If this team played in the NFC, I'd probably pick them to at least make championship weekend. But as we know, the AFC is tougher and it's going to be a tall task. However, they can still get it done. I guess I'll have to make my final decision when my official predictions come out sometime in August. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Leave a like and subscribe if you did, and I'll talk to you guys next time.